Right now, I have to stop saying
He's not even here and we still use it. You know why? Because it's the perfect way to say we're live. This is day 8 already of 31, of the other 31. We've done a full week of these, of our part of our summer series, but this one is going to be a good one. We've got 2 members of the Seattle Kraken broadcast team, one on TV, one on radio, and I can't wait to, I'm not going to share it yet. We're going to do that next. Let's do it.
Let's get it cracking.
Oh, let's get it cracking. Oh, you have to say that on the mic. This is the DLLS Stars Podcast on Friday, August 8th, and we are live inside the podcast studio. Sam Nestler, who may not have full function in both eyeballs. I know you were trying to hide it. It doesn't. That's not. I mean, if Luds was here, he'd say something.
Yeah, I know.
Luds isn't here today.
Miss you, Luds.
But Sean is here. I'm Owen. He's Sam. Kat is producing today, as you heard that phenomenal pun in the cold open. And we are thrilled to make this our Seattle Kraken Day by welcoming on 2 great guests. Everett Fitzhugh, their radio play-by-play announcer, will be joining us for the second half of the show. But right now, from the TV side, well, please welcome Kraken analyst Alison Lukan. Alison, we are thrilled you're here, and not just because you make us all smarter, but because if people don't know your background, and it's really something, I have to show everybody this photo. And you probably know what's coming. So, Kat, go ahead and put it on screen.
Yes.
That, ladies and gentlemen, somebody who actually wore that mascot costume with the University of Richmond Spiders, Miss Alison Lukan. Alison, that article you wrote in The Athletic about that was brilliant, and I loved it so very much.
The perils of the ideas we come up with during COVID, right? That was definitely for the books. It's all been downhill since then for me.
What I really liked is, aside from clean costume versus missing the tailgating, and those are very important things. Like, it goes right to me going, I would have weighed these very much. Was your old sorority sisters saying they like that costume better than this, which is the refreshed, more modern. It's a cool look. It's totally different, isn't it?
We are not fans because, and the name has changed as well because we didn't care so much about trademark infractions back then when we called him Spidey, but here we are. But no, you have to be approachable to the kids, I say. And this guy,
that's scary.
I don't know. And he leans a little too basketball for me. Are we dissing other sports? Like, let's be a little more inclusive and friendly, I say.
Kat, go back to the first one real quick. So that is your every man or every woman's spider. Go to the other one. This is the one that's gone to GNC too much and hit the gym a lot.
Exactly. And look at the legs. They're not all the same. Like, it's not good. It's just not good, with all due respect. It's
something else. Well, nothing better than to then tie in with the Kraken, who had their own mascot story this week. And I promise the whole appearance won't be about mascots.
Just most of
it. But
it.
we had to share. Kat, do you have that? She does. So, Alison, you probably have never been chased by a grizzly bear, but Bowie has. Go ahead and roll it.
While we were fishing, we had a pretty close call with a couple bears. Got a bear.
Oh, I gotta break you off now.
Okay.
Hey, Sam, we got a bear. We gotta move down.
Oh my God.
So that's John Hayden, forward for the Kraken, doing I'm guessing social and Kraken video with Bowie, their mascot. And then all of a sudden, this is the part right here.
He does not like what he sees.
Right here.
This bear.
That is an aggressive trot. That's a charge.
I want to blame it on Bowie. They were pretty interesting.
Allison, I'm guessing you never got
but
threatened by a large
a close
predator when you were at Richmond like that.
You guys paused for a second, so if you're asking me something, I missed it.
Okay, so I'm guessing the question was, I'm guessing that your life wasn't in danger, at least from anything other than like heat stroke when you were in the Richmond costume.
It's true. And what's ironic about that video is that I was actually on a backpacking trip when this video got released and was actually also afraid of bears. And then I come back and see this, and we had heard in the office that there was a bear encounter, but they definitely undersold.
I mean, that's as close as it gets.
Crazy.
That's you get your feet up and you move.
Yeah, that was
Right.
a trot. That bear had an agenda.
All right, should we talk about some hockey?
Here's the kicker, though.
Oh, go ahead.
No, not yet.
You can't. So the bear comes in theory because the bear sees splashing and thinks it's a fish. So you can't run. You have to move very, very slowly so you don't create more splashing.
You have to move slowly whilst in the mascot
Well,
costume.
you know the old joke is
Wet.
that you can move quickly as long as I move faster than you.
Yeah.
We just sacrifice Sam and we're all okay. I think Sean was okay with that, right? All right, let's talk some hockey because I don't want to just derail this with mascot, but truly, if you haven't gone and looked at it, Google it. Your article in The Athletic from, what was it, 2021, something like that?
I think so, yeah.
It was really well written and it's fun and the great personality into it and all that fun. You guys, and I'm referring to the proverbial you of the Kraken here, have had quite the offseason so far. Change at GM as far as taking Ron Francis and promoting him to president of hockey operations, elevating Jason Botterill to GM, letting go the head coach that Dan Bylsma has only been there one season, and hiring Lane Lambert. I'm guessing that the ownership front office isn't really thrilled with missing the playoffs 2 years in a row after playing the Stars in the second round 2 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. This is a clear message, right? And I think it became very clear when we call him Bots as an endearing term, but when Bots was introduced as GM, is that he was straightforward. He said, we are not one player away, right? And we need to become a proverbial playoff contender. This is a team that had a big pop when they hit Seattle, but it's a crowded sports market. You overperform that second year, you draw a lot of eyeballs, you draw a lot of passion. And as everyone knows, once you start up, it's harder to keep going up versus a slower build. And I think also when you look at what that year two did to how the Kraken were building, obviously you perform better, your draft picks are lower in the rounds. This was a team that in typical Ron Francis style was building from within, and that'll hit a blip too because the picks became lower and things like that. So I think it's a credit to them that they didn't just sit on it and accept it and try and not be very straightforward in public about what they thought, and that they're taking action. And now we have to see if those steps can put the puzzle pieces together to, again, the first goal, just become a perennial playoff contender.
Hey, Allison, so Jason actually lived in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So I saw him all the time in Detroit for the last couple of years. And so I got to know him a little bit and kind of pick his brain a little bit here and there. So I haven't asked him this because since he got the GM job, he's a little bit busier. But when you look at letting a coach go after 1 year, that obviously feels a bit harsh. And you bring in Lane Lambert, who had coached at the Islanders before and everything like that. From a coaching perspective, why did they need to make the change? And what are the challenges that you kind of see that necessitated that?
Yeah, and again, Dan Bylsma, I've known him for many, many years, even before he was in the Kraken organization. He's a tremendous human. I can't say enough good things about him, but I think his style, we look at when he was most successful, everyone points to the Penguins, of course. And you look at Coachella, where you have a different kind of energy of, high performers on their way up, a lot of internal competition. And I think his systems weren't ready for the kind of structure that this current Kraken roster needs to be effective. And again, I mentioned honesty. You know, Ron Francis said when he watched the team play last year, he didn't like what he saw. And there was a step back in structure. There was a step back in defensive ability, which for better or worse, even when the offense was sputtering, was a hallmark of how the Kraken were playing. So again, I think it was an unfortunate conversation. It's not a great look, but it was something that had to be done. And I think it's very interesting that Lane Lambert comes in without a ton of, pre-existing strong connections. This isn't a, here's my guy hire. They really think this is a good fit in terms of setting a culture standard and kind of reinstituting that discipline and reinstituting that pride of depth and therefore being able to win, hopefully.
Is there something to that too with, like, when you talk about Dan Bylsma's success before, it's Pittsburgh, obviously there's a couple of Hockey Hall of Famers he steps in and wins a cup with, and coaching the AHL is a completely different animal. Is it part of, you kind of mentioned the depth and the group cohesiveness, and that was really a bit of that mentality from afar for that team when they made the playoffs. How much of it was just getting back to realizing we don't have a future Hockey Hall of Famer down the middle, and nonetheless, two of them?
Yeah, for sure. I think that is part of it. And I think it's finding this balance. This is still an expansion team, right? And I used to cover an expansion team, and we've all been expansion teams except for 6. So, we forget what this journey looks like because Vegas has shaded that for so many people. And so there is still a need for, these players aren't coming into an established, this is how we always have played, this is how we will play, and we will set the standard and uphold our teammates to that standard. And that's not to say that the room isn't effective and has a good culture, but the tradition just isn't there. And so when the tradition isn't there, and to your point, Sean, when you don't have that talent high-end standard yet, obviously the organization is looking to get there, I think you have to supplement that with more structure. And also, because there's youth, because there's veterans, you have to supplement how much you're going to focus on development versus structure versus execution. And I think that's something they're hoping for more this coming year as well.
Alison, you just pointed exactly at the question I was going to ask you, which is Vegas ruined it for everybody, right? I mean, it's crazy to look at. If you were to say, the Seattle Kraken have been a team for 4 years, they made a good run their second year and have some ups and downs, you wouldn't necessarily be looking at it like it's the worst thing in the world, except for the fact that Vegas made it to a bunch of conference finals and won a Stanley Cup in their little beginning. So how much of that needs to be balanced, and what's your outlook? Take Vegas away, take the shading away. What's your actual outlook on this team in 4 years?
Yeah, if you take Vegas also had, and no one wishes for this, right? They had that cultural moment of a terrible tragedy that brought those guys together. And they all had that chip on their shoulder. We all remember front offices were caught. We remember the insane things GMs were trying to do to protect their players. GMs were prepared for the Seattle Kraken to come on board. But to answer your question, I think one thing the Kraken had to deal with that first year, and when we would travel with the team, you couldn't socialize. You were taking a COVID test every morning, every evening. The culture couldn't build that first year. So that second year was kind of that same similar-ish lightning in a bottle that Vegas had, but it screwed up their development path, as I mentioned, in terms of slowly building with some high-end talent coming in. And now that's where they are, is that they need to get back to getting some good picks, starting to supplement with youth that's affordable, that's cap controlled. And to that end, in 4 years, I think if management can continue to be effective and quite frankly, as I mentioned at the top, be willing to take the risks, do the hard things, and say the honest things, I think in 4 years they can be a contender. Because as much as this has been a roller coaster, I mean, again, I covered Columbus. Look at how long it took them to even make the playoffs, and they've still only won one series. Yep. There's not as much rust to shake off, and there's not as much historic weight, if you will, or things that you have to clean up or get rid of. This organization hasn't been afraid to do that in search of what they think is going to make them better. And so I think if they keep that trend going and keep the youth going, they've had some really good sneaky draft picks, particularly in round 2. In 4 years, I think they're going to be talking and looking at playoffs at least on a regular basis.
Boy, a lot more to get to. Lineup questions, TV analysis questions, you name it. More with Alison next year on DLLS. Sean, you muted yourself.
Sean's muted.
Jeez, there we go. Okay.
There we go.
All right, well, Just like your favorite team needs a home ice advantage, your home team needs a home floor advantage, and Empire Today can help you get it. Empire Today is flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals who focus on flooring every single day. We've all been to those big box stores. You wander in endless aisles, then somehow you're hauling all these materials home, looking for an installer, and coordinating everything yourself. Those big box stores might have a flooring department, but the person helping you with flooring may have been doing sinks yesterday and could be stocking light bulbs tomorrow. Water and electricity should not mix. Good point to remember on that. The flooring experts bring the showroom right to your home. Pick the right flooring and the right colors for your space. See how it looks in with your furniture in your house. Get precise measurements taken and have all the questions answered so there are no surprises. With Empire Today, you get a clear, upfront, all the inclusive pricing, plus you can schedule installation the next day. Nobody likes to wait. So schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. DLLS listeners can receive a $350 discount when using the promo code DLLS. Yes, you heard right, a $350 discount with code DLLS. Restrictions apply. Visit Empire/DLLS for full details.
Thank you, Sean. Let's talk about Shady Rays. You know that moment when your eye is about to fall out of your head? Sorry, Sam. Yeah, it's dying over here. Well, here's what you need.
Rays.
Maybe it'd help. Yeah.
I can go grab my Shady Rays out of my bag so you don't have to show that your eyeball and whatever contact might be lodged behind there. Here's the great thing about Shady Rays. If they break in your eye, which they won't do. No, if you lose them, if you leave them at the gas station 3 states away on a road trip, if the bear chases you in the river and they fall off and you can't find them, they will give you a brand new pair. They will send them to you with no guilt trip, just replacements. That's the great thing. So you can actually go back to using your sunglasses and not just leaving them in the case so that they don't get ruined. That's why we're talking seriously good-looking, polarized, durable, and not stupidly expensive. And we've teamed up with Shady Rays for an exclusive offer. Head to shadyrays.com. Use the code DLLS35 for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Okay, let's bring Alison back in. And, all right, I'm going to probably steal a question that Sam would ask, but we're going to do it anyway. Let's talk about Mason Marchment, because if you talk about good business, the Stars did not want to let Mason Marchment leave. Salary cap because they got this guy named Mikko Rantanen, and it's probably worthwhile trade-off. However, what's the impression from the Kraken side of things of how you were able to get Marchment and how he helps your lineup?
Yeah, I mean, again, a really, really savvy deal by the front office. If you ask me, this smacks a little bit of when Seattle was able to poach Oliver Bjorkstrand because Columbus had cap concerns after they bring in Johnny Gaudreau a few years ago as well. And, you know, we talk about what the Kraken need. Dallas has been a team I followed for a long time. They were actually my cup pick last year before Florida decided to do Florida things. But,
Same.
I really enjoy Marchment is the kind of player, you know, I think I get fans' emotion when he's not on your team, but I really feel like him and even Marchand, this current version of Marchand, like appreciate it, right? It's so valuable to have a guy who can get under the skin, but still be effective on the ice. And I think that a little bit of that sandpaper, that grindiness, is what the Kraken need, to be completely honest. And the other thing they're really looking for from him, in addition to all the usual things you would expect from a middle six forward, is his ability to get net front. That was a huge theme for the Kraken, both defensively and offensively this offseason. And if you pull up Marchment's shot charts, if you look at his way to just bull in a China shot, push forward, whether it's on the power play or 5-on-5, he can do that. And I think, you know, Kaapo Kakko joins the team last year. He brought a little bit more of that too. And so I think, again, that good kind of peer pressure you want on a team where you see other guys doing it, those are some of the key ingredients they're looking for from him. And it's definitely going to be fun. I've loved his game from afar for a while.
I talked to Jake Ottinger this week, and I felt bad, but it was also sort of funny the way he said it. He said, I just need to stop calling people my best friend, because as soon as I say they're my best friend, they get traded. And that's the case. His golf friends and his best friends keep getting traded. But he said exactly what you said. He said he's a great fit there and something they need. So very good good move by Seattle there.
For sure.
Alison,
I think it's going to be nice.
Alison, you did a really good job teeing up my next question and tying multiple topics together.
It's a segue here, Sean.
You're talking about Mason Marchment and looking at kind of some of the numbers there in the shot charts. And my initial question was going to be, you look at kind of the space he creates for teammates and the way that Seattle will want to play with him. The other thing I wanted to add in there, and I wanted to ask you, and so I'm going to combine these questions into one. I've always been impressed with how you do a great job of bringing in that information and making me understand why I need to know it and how I watch it. And just a quick shout out to you and the rest of the Kraken broadcast. When I'm flipping through the out of market package, I typically pick the Seattle broadcast because I like going to broadcasts where I learn something. So I often learn something from your broadcast. So when it comes to using the lens of Mason Marchment, when you come kind of combining those elements and what matters and what doesn't, how do you kind of figure that out and figure out the proper storytelling there?
Yeah, for sure. And first of all, thank you, Sean. We take great pride in our work, and our show in particular, it was not possible without our awesome Emmy-winning producer, Scott Malone, who is just tremendous in every single way. So it's a pleasure to bring our stories too. But, when you talk about a player like Marchment, for me, the way I think about the game is I always want to say, why is this player effective? Or what is it that this player does? The points are actually one of the last things I look at. So I start to look at what, publicly we'll call microstats and say, how does this player play? What do I see in addition to what my eyes tell me? And from there, I start to dig into numbers and say, it's what leads me to fun facts. And I know everyone rolls their eyes at the contract, but Chandler Stevenson led every single NHL forward in completed passes last season. Like, that's insane. So, Vince Dunn is top 3 all 4 years in Seattle in terms of completed stretch passes. And so when you think about how the Kraken want to play, that's why he's so valuable to them. So it's watching the player being like, I see where he is, or I see something he's doing, and then kind of watching that play develop. Here's my soapbox I'll get on, even though I'm on a broadcast that doesn't do this just yet. I feel like when we show a highlight, we should show the whole play. Then you can close in on the shot if that's what you want. But your third and final look should go back to the whole play, because then you're starting to figure out the play before the play before the play, which I say all the time on air, which is those are the building blocks that matter. There is no goal if all those other things don't happen.
Boy, I love that.
Yeah, that's a good way to do it. I think there's tons of broadcasts that do such a good job with that too, right? Like there's so much more than what we see on certain games, and sometimes you can't.
There's also plenty of hockey broadcasts that don't do a very good job.
I purposely didn't say that part. I didn't say that part.
I'm going to say that
there's just so much that you don't see because the game is so fast, and you only have 60 seconds before the next puck is dropped or whatever.
That's
it is.
the biggest complaint
so
for the NHL is time between the goal scored and puck drop. They're trying. The Stars broadcasts have been asking for years, and I think they finally got tired of asking. But there are certain broadcasts, maybe not local ones, that like to show bench and fan reaction more than what just happened that made everybody get excited. And it drives me up the wall. So I appreciate it. But I, as a play-by-play guy by trade, when I started hosting for the Stars almost 12 years ago now, I found I needed something to keep my attention from drifting while I watched the game and not calling play-by-play. So I don't remember if it was year 1 or 2, Alison. I started tracking quality scoring chances, and just on my own. It wasn't pulling it from anybody else. It's just doing my own. And it's sort of a classic, if this went in, would you blame the goalie or not? That's sort of the main criteria. And then, of course, location, who's the shooter, the situation, all those things come into play. Luds gives me crap all the time because of my QSC chances. Not all of them are scoring chances. He argues that if it doesn't hit the net, it shouldn't be. I say if it's an open net and you whiff, that's definitely a chance. But I love, and to just sort of reiterate what Sean said, how you take really interesting and yet mathematically complex numbers and give it to, I'm not looking at you, Sam, I promise, non-math majors out there and give it to everybody else. And that's not an easy thing that you do. And I'm not just coattailing off Sean here. It's really a great thing for a broadcaster to be able to do that.
Well, thank you. And I love that you're doing scoring chances. This is another step back on my soapbox here. There are so many people saying those 2 words, and everyone's definition is different.
Exactly.
In fact, I try not to say that word on air because people will assume I'm pulling it as a number from somewhere, and everybody's source is so different. And so I think that pursuing your own answers is so valuable. JT Brown and I have some of the best debates. He's our color analyst on the game broadcast about what the numbers say versus what he sees as someone who has played the game at an elite level. And he has reinforced something I always try to do, which to your point of scoring chances, I do agree, even if it doesn't hit the net, it still can be a scoring chance.
Thank you.
But, but I think we also have to recognize all the things that these numbers don't tell us. So I love to lead towards a behavior, but also acknowledge, even if you look at some of the quote unquote mathematical scoring chances that are tracked, to your point, they are not necessarily capturing, was there a screen? Is it a rebound? Where are his teammates? Which way is he facing? Even player and puck tracking. We know where the body is. We don't know which way the eyes are looking. We don't know which way a defender is looking. There's so much we don't know yet. So I really
to my ears. Keep it coming. I love this.
I really do think we need the data, because flip this around now. I can't tell you the number of times someone has said, this was terrible. And I go, really? Because this is what the actual count of that thing was. And people are like, oh. And then they realize that's what fandom does to us, right? But we need the numbers to ground us. We need the numbers to reinforce questions we have, but also to drive new questions and to acknowledge questions we still have. And so I love to bring it in, but I'm never going to get up there and give people a plate of vegetables and just recite numbers for 5 minutes, because it's still a magical game and the numbers are part of that chemistry. But right now, at least, they are not all of it.
It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect.
I'll tell you right now, Craig Ludwig loses interest as soon as there's a number brought up that's not 1 through 5.
Give Luds credit, because he gives me crap about it all the time, because we argue about what is and isn't a chance.
Yeah.
But just like I say, shots on goal is an interesting narrative, but it doesn't tell the whole story. Quality chances
100%.
are better. High danger chances tell an even different story, but it's not all of it. And so Luds, it's funny, Allison, for as much as Luds complains about my numbers, these are just, I'm trying to be as consistent to me as I can. I don't worry about what any other site does. He references my numbers an awful lot for a guy that says, oh, those are dumb. So go ahead. We have a couple minutes left, so you go ahead.
Okay. Allison, there's a couple of second overall picks that I want to ask you about, but since we've somehow talked about the University of Michigan a lot this week on our other 31, I'm going to stick with that with Matty Beniers. He had his biggest year was that year we were talking about when they went to the second round, 15 and 20 goals, nothing crazy low or anything like that. But I'm just curious if you're looking at his overall 4 years and his development. One, how have you seen it? And two, what's his ceiling?
Yeah, for sure. I think that when you look at that pop year, you're young, it's your first full year in the league. Not everyone knows you yet. The puck starts falling, and we all know when the puck starts falling, it just seems to keep falling. Everything seems easier. And year 3 of the franchise, his second full year, was more of a grind because people figured him out and things weren't going as well. I think that ultimately, if you look at basically what was the second half of last season, which is when Kaapo Kakko comes to the Kraken and lines up on Matty Beniers' wing, I think you started to find the kind of player he's going to mix with well, both in terms of the intangible pushing each other to be at their next level, because of course Kaapo Kakko is such a high-end pick and talent as well, but also the way that they play. Matty Beniers is going to pride himself on using his feet to get where he needs to go, to think the game, be smart, and then feed a big body like Kaapo Kakko who can get net front. And Jordan Eberle, our captain, said, I think it was this year or last, that one of the things he's talked to Matty about is not overthinking things. And I think when he was able to play with Kakko, things started to come a little bit easier just in terms of how he was processing on ice information. So I think his point totals will probably go up a bit, but I think ultimately because of what he wants to be as a player and how he plays and where his strengths are, he's ultimately going to be a really solid two-way guy. Bergeron is his role model. I think that's where we're looking at him down the future, top 2 center, tent pole of the team for a long time.
Because of the constraints of time, I have a quick 2-part question.
We don't have enough time with Allison. This is so great.
Come on, are you serious?
First is, it's going to be
Fitz
quick.
Doesn't need any time. Who cares?
That is a burn from Kat right there on Sean for trying to be quick.
The first quick one for me is when you moved to the Kraken job, you went from working with a lot of public data, and now I'm assuming you have a bit more. So I'm curious if it was like kind of the Wizard of Oz type moment where you get the curtain pulled back and you get a little bit, all of that more kind of having that. And then if you want to connect it to the second part, the question we ask everyone on the show is, how do you look at the Dallas Stars? We just try to get the outside view of everything. Those two things should not be mashed together, but
that was not quick at all, but he did it.
And to tie those two together is going to be quite interesting. So, I think to answer your question, yes, I do see a little bit more data from companies that you probably could guess that are contracted to by teams. But I'm still just as ornery as ever, Sean. I'm still pushing them saying, this doesn't make sense. What is this? This doesn't track what I think it says. Why is it called that? So I see it, and I think the benefit of it is, again, publicly, we see microstats, thanks to great work by people like Corey Schneider, just coming faster, because Corey is one human trying to track every game in the league. But this way I get it a little bit faster, but it's still not, if I don't trust it, I'm not going to use it, right?
Yep.
So that's a real thing for me. And that's not a diss on the company. That's my personal bias and how I interpret data. As for Dallas, I've really liked this organization, as I said, for some time. I really like the way that they've found ways to rebuild with waves versus having kind of a cratering moment. I don't think enough people we talk about mimicking winning teams. I don't think enough people have looked at how this organization has built itself with kind of those slow micro rebuilds in terms of having to not, go down, get a top 5 draft pick and come back up. But I'm curious to see this year defensively how they shape up. I mean, Mikko Rantanen is a star, literally. But, I think he's going to be a big boon. But I think that we're going to look here now, particularly with changes behind the bench, at what is this team going to be? I think there's going to be a bit of an evolution. And the key, as with any team, is to make sure that philosophy meets leadership style, meets team dynamic and talent.
Man,
that's great.
Alison, you may be my favorite guest so far we've had in this series. And I'm not just saying that because you're here, but I mean, the 30 minutes went by so fast. We didn't get to ask about Jamie Alexiak's last year of his contract and all the things that go. But
we did get mascot talk in there, though.
Well, we had to. That was, I know I ate into it, but it was important. And you were such a sport to let us go down that path. I would love to sit and not argue. Let's say debate what is and isn't a chance during a game, because I feel like picking your brain would be so valuable. But I'm not going to speak for you guys. Totally love this. Thank you so much for coming on today. We're all smarter because of what you do, whether it's hockey or otherwise. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you, Alison.
Yeah,
thank you guys. I think it's awesome that you guys are doing this, and I will happily sit with you. And anytime you want to have a conversation, both public or private, please reach out. You have my contact info. You guys are the best.
Thanks, Alison.
Thanks.
We'll have you on again soon, I'm sure. This is great. There she goes.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Alison Lukan, who is the TV studio analyst and does do some games. She did a couple games color for the game broadcast itself, not just pre and post and intermissions for the Kraken. Hard to follow that up, but if anyone can, it's probably our next guest. Everett Fitzhugh joins us on the other side of the break. Okay, you don't want to do no title card. So, Sam, you're up.
It's the break. Now.
I was waiting for the white screen. She just said go.
Oh, it's all good. We're in break. It's a good transition. Perfect. Those Dallas Cowboys, let's talk about them, huh? They play a game tomorrow against the Los Angeles Rams, but that's not what we're going to talk about today, folks.
We have a pre and post on DLS for that.
As Sean would say, what if I told you that the DLLS crew is headed to Las Vegas in November with true fan travel for the ultimate fan experience? DLS is taking over the Strip for an unforgettable weekend in Vegas, and you need to be there. Join us as the Cowboys take on the Raiders on November 17th on Monday Night Football. This package includes an all-inclusive trip. It's 3-night stay at a luxury Vegas resort, game tickets, VIP parties, exclusive events with the DLS crew, who is just a dang good time to be around, plenty of fellow diehard fans, and much, much more. This is how Dallas does Vegas. So book now at truefantravel.com. Do I still need to go for longer? Okay, perfect. We're done.
Okay. I'm still beaming about having Alison on because I think and Sean, you brought this up. She's so hockey intelligent. B, her ability to take sophisticated statistics and analytics and then digest them and then present them to casuals who don't necessarily have that background in an understandable way. I go back to one of my college physics professors saying, if you really have a grasp for the material, you can teach somebody that's not a science major. And that non-hockey majors can be explained by stuff. And I just think she's really good at what she does. Okay. He didn't have an answer. That's for the first time I've left
I
Sean
did.
speechless.
No, I did. I did. I didn't know whether you were going into another ad read or I clearly missed the pre. I'm sorry, Kat.
That's okay.
No, it's okay.
No, because we have to bring on Everett.
What if I told you?
What if I told you that a guy that Sean knows very well and I know pretty well, but not as well as Sean, is waiting? Everett Fitzhugh from the Kraken radio broadcasts. How do you follow Alison?
I can't. I can't. Allison, I will tell you, you said it. She's so good at what she does. And not even the analytics aside, right? But I'm not a math guy. I don't know numbers. I don't do numbers. I went into communication for a reason, right? I went into English, communication, sports management, journalism for a reason. Not a numbers guy. And Allison has helped me so much understand these advanced stats and these nuances. And she's helped me attempt, very poorly sometimes, to make sense of all the extra ish that we have now in hockey. So to answer your question, I can't follow that. So this has been fun, guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks for having me.
Everett, I can't tell you how happy I am that you're on. We should have done it sooner, but I cannot ask the first question because your seniority on this one and only this one goes to Sean.
This is probably the only interview we bring up that work put in at crushing bad Domino's pizza at the Madhouse on Mercer ever actually gets you seniority on.
God. We could go a whole half hour just with Bowling Green stories and Kevin Gordon stories.
Oh,
and
Docky, I'm in.
Yes,
I know.
road trips to Notre Dame and Miami and Ferris and my goodness, good times, buddy. Good times.
We need like 15 Diet Pepsis right now to give a tribute to Gordon for what we're doing.
Oh my goodness, absolutely.
All right, to get us back, so other than maybe Sokoviak's listening in, so maybe anyone else that understands references real quick. You're in Seattle now, and you guys have been part of.
What was your first clue, Sean?
Yeah, I know, it's a good question.
You're in Seattle now. Holy cow!
Yeah, there you go. So. But when we talked to Alison about where this team's kind of going and she talked about kind of the culture building. And it was one of the things that sat with me in my brain from her interview was, hey, that year one was really tough to build culture. And it's not something I'd thought about a ton. For you, traveling with the team the past couple of years, seeing that come together, a team that traded away its captain in year one, and what's that been like kind of from your perspective of trying to build what Kraken culture actually is over the past couple of years?
Yeah, I think for me, the culture of this team really, it starts at the top, and that's with Ron Francis. You've got a Hall of Famer. You've got a guy who's been around, hockey. I mean, if it's 50 years, right? I mean, he's been doing this for so long at multiple levels. And when you walk into that locker room, you get the professionalism. You get the everyone striving for greatness, wanting to pull in the same direction on the same rope. And I think that, you've got a lot of guys who want to mirror that leadership. And it starts with Mark Giordano, your first captain. You go into Jordan Eberle. You go into guys who have never worn the captaincy for the Kraken, but are still crucial and vital leaders. Yanni Gourde, who has got 300 and some odd minor league, American League, ECHL games. He's a guy that so many folks in that locker room looked up to. Alison was just talking about Matty Beniers. And while his stats may have taken a bit of a dip the past couple of years, where you've seen Matty Beniers, in my opinion, really grow has been in a leadership role. There are folks now looking up to Matty Beniers. Matty Beniers is now leading those conversations. He is a last off guy at practice, working with Shane and Ty Cartier and Yanni Newman and some of these other players, trying to get better every single day. So I think that culture for the Kraken, the results haven't been there. You made the playoffs in year two, almost beat your guys, those darn 9 seconds at the end of the game. so close. I'm not bitter. I promise I'm not bitter. So the results I know have not been there, but I do think from a culture perspective, from a leadership perspective, this team is going in the right direction. And on a daily basis, you can see that in that locker room.
All right, I'm going to ask. Sean disappeared for a second, so I had a goaltending question. So I'm just going to stick with it, even though he appeared out of the blue.
I was ready to say that Sean had given up on Everett's answer halfway through,
done.
which is about normal.
Was that long-winded? Jeez, my bad. All right.
No, it was. I don't know. It was kicked and then reconnected all by itself.
That's amazing.
Hey, look, you knew what you were getting when you put a radio play-by-play guy on this stream. Okay, I have to paint the whole.
We have someone full-time on here that does that.
Yeah.
Listen, I can only interrupt Sean so many times. It's your turn, Everett. Jump all over him.
Go ahead. Yeah, so I'm just curious. This can be a very open-ended question. The Kraken goaltending is kind of fascinating to me because, Decord kind of takes over. He looks like that's your number one guy. I know Sean has his beliefs about Philip Grubauer, his potential. Where does the goaltending stand, in your opinion, going forward?
I think that it's Joey Decord's team. And I say this because of the success that he's had the last two seasons. And, we can call him a late bloomer, if you will. The last couple of years, he's playing 40 plus, 50 plus games. He's getting results. Philip Grubauer, unfortunately, has been injured for some of that time. And the Kraken have needed to have solid backup goaltending. The playoff year, it was Martin Jones and Joey Decord who held the fort down. You go to year 3, so last season, Philip Grubauer gets hurt again. Joey Decord has to come in, and I think Joey Decord kept the Kraken in the playoff conversation longer than maybe you would have expected in that year because of the injury to Philip Grubauer. Now this past season, again, Philip Grubauer's healthy, but the results aren't there. And you feel bad because Philip Grubauer has been, in my opinion, the definition of a good soldier for an organization. He goes to all the community events. He's known in the community. The fans love him. He loves Seattle. He comes upstairs to the front office and will talk with the sales guys and just hang out. And he is such a really good ambassador and a really good person to be around. And you feel bad that the numbers weren't there for him last season. He had that Vezina finalist year, and he's never quite been able to recapture that magic that we've seen from that year. So for me, Joey Decord has come in. He's earned it. He's worked hard. And I think he is going to be that incumbent, that presumed number one going into the season. But listen, Philip Grubauer is still a Stanley Cup winning Vezina finalist, $5-6 million goalie in the NHL, and you're hoping that you can get another good, strong year out of him this season.
I'm not laughing at your answer. Kat was sending me a message because I was teasing something about Sam with his eye issue, and she's got me laughing about being a pirate.
Oh,
and
that's happening right now?
Well, because your eye's bothering you. So I said, we have to start calling him Sam the Pirate. He's been dealing with contact loss. And she just texted me, R. And oh, man.
Still the pirate?
I lost it. No, you don't look like it, but you should show up with an eye patch for our next show.
Right, I was gonna say.
You should get the eye patch. Sam, you should get the eye patch.
See? Even Sean's on board. I love it. Yes. Everett, I'm looking at your decor right now, and obviously Ryan Lindgren is an interesting piece, and I really like when he's healthy what Vince Dunn does. I think that the Blues lost something there they didn't want him to go, but I'm just looking at this group going, you've got Brendan Montour can play, and Larson is, I can't believe he's 32 already. You've got a quite a group there. And then you have Stars, ex-Star a couple times over. I had him in the AHL with the Texas Stars, what feels like eons ago, but
yeah.
All of a sudden, Jamie Alexiak is 32 and in the last year of his deal. What's the status of him and your blue line going into this season? Because I know there's a lot of disappointment for the last two seasons, and it's not where you, Ron Francis, and everybody else. Obviously, you're one of the big decision makers there up in Seattle. But by the way, Sean, did you know Everett's in Seattle now? I'm teasing.
I did know that.
It's too easy.
I did know that.
Hey, I've not forgotten my roots though, Sean. I got my Bowling Green.
Yes, there it
My
is.
Bowling Green coffee cup here. So,
But where's your blue line at right now going into 25-26?
I've always thought that the Kraken defensively, the decor for the Seattle Kraken, I've always felt has been a strength for them. And I think for a variety of areas. I think number one, offensively, this has been a decor that's never been afraid to jump up in the rush. This has been a decor that's never been afraid to chip in on the score sheet. There were times last year when you would see 62 in Montour or 29 in Dunn, in the corner. And I have to check my sheet to make sure that I'm looking at who I'm looking at in the corner, because you shouldn't be down there, but they're down there jumping into the and, helping to create offense. So I do think that defensively, this team has always been strong, but there's always been this what's what I'm looking for here? Wants to be strong on a team defensive. So your decor is fine. Individually, you're fine. I think Dunn's, the Montours, Adam Larson is probably one of the best shutdown D in the NHL. He's not going to score a lot of points for you, but he's one of those guys who, if you don't notice Adam Larson on any given night, he's doing his job, because he's just that strong, that smooth defensively. And I think where those goals against numbers really rise for Seattle is in that team defensive structure, that team philosophy. So this year, you talked about Jamie Alexiak. I do think that, there's competition. You bring in Ryan Lindgren, who has had some injury problems, but he brings a little bit more grit. I would have to imagine that Lindgren and Alexiak are probably going to be battling for that spot on the left side. I mean, they can play either side, but probably the left side of that second or third pair, maybe. But I think defensively, the Kraken will be fine, but it's more of an overall commitment to team defense where they're going to have to improve. And that starts from Joey, from Phil, whoever's in net. That starts from the net out and that team philosophy as it relates to defense.
All right, we have a lot more with Everett, and apparently Sam might have scurvy here on the DLS Stars podcast. I should be professional, but Everett's too much fun. I want to just be goofy and giggle a little bit. Let's talk about being a DLS diehard, because that's something that you shouldn't laugh at. Well, you can have fun. We're here to have fun. We're an entertainment company, people. It's about having fun. Sean, baseball is a game, and games are supposed to be fun. One of my favorite lines.
Yes.
Hockey is a game and should be fun.
Baseball's not that fun, though.
It should be. It was the other night when I watched the Yankees lose at Globe.
That's always fun.
You need to show Sam that movie. Sam needs to be homework.
Rookie of the year?
No, Mr. Baseball.
Oh.
Tom Selleck goes to Japan as an aging slugger. Oh, it's so good. But let's talk about being a diehard. Deal's still going. Look at this. Yeah, Grizzly Adams did have a beard.
Yeah, Friday.
$36. Look at that. That's over 50% off the annual rate, the normal one. Cowboys training camp. There's a preseason game coming up tomorrow, but before you do that, sign up today, become a diehard. You will get the whole year of the Stars season, the entire NFL season, the entire upcoming NBA season, and you'll get the Rangers push for the playoffs and hopefully some playoff baseball with the Rangers, and maybe they'll have to play my Red Sox. That would be fun. John is looking for something over there.
Big ass pen.
I was looking for something.
But anyway,
continue.
Sign up to that. Use the QR code. You'll get access to all the writing that Sean and Sam do for the Stars, and of course the other Mavs, Cowboys, Rangers. And let's talk merchandise. I'm wearing the DLLS diehard shirt, which Ardell says is his favorite shirt. No, he does not. He says it's the die. You are lying. He's in the chat, and he will tell you. There's Bobby.
This one? I thought this was my favorite.
It's a great shirt, but the diehard one.
Sam's shirt is my least favorite of the ones up here.
Once again, Sam not wearing a DLS shirt.
I just buy things that say shirt. Shirt, $12.99.
There you go. Check out. Look at the Dallas collection we showed you really quickly. Those are great as well. AllDLS.com. Sign up today. All right, let's bring Everett back in. I could ask him 100 funny things, but we're gonna let Sean go again, because Sean, with how fast this time's going, we're all getting like 2 questions for Everett. It's fine.
Exactly. So I wanted to go down with so Everett, what's the deal with Shane Wright? Where things are going there? Obviously, he went through first full NHL year last year. The year before that, weird, kind of all over the place. what's kind of the expectation for, obviously, with where he was drafted, and when is the next step moment for him, and what's kind of the thoughts on Shane Wright?
What if I were to tell you that Shane Wright is only...
Oh, he did the Sean! He did the Sean! What if I were to tell you?
What if I were to tell you? Excellent sales
Oh, my
pitch.
God, he's so good. He's a pro, ladies and gentlemen.
What if I were to tell you that Shane Wright is only 8 months and 3 days in to being able, actually 7 days and 3 months in to being able to drink legally here in the United States of America, right? He's only 21 years old. And it's interesting because we've been hearing so much about Shane Wright from his junior days before COVID. All this happens. COVID messes up the OHL season, and he's got to go do all the other stuff that he had to do. And I think Shane Wright was put into a situation where there was a lot of pressure. He puts a lot of pressure on himself. He understands that there is a certain level that comes with being the 4th overall pick. The first couple games he played in that rookie year didn't go as well as he would have wanted, but I think they send him down to the American League. They tell him to work on all of these things. Everything that he needed to work on, his skating, playing with and without the puck, his shooting, his confidence, he improves. He gets a couple of Calder Cup final runs with Coachella Valley, so he experiences winning. All of those things go into making him the player that we saw this year. And it goes back to, I want to say, early mid-November. Dan Bylsma benched Shane Wright for 2 games, and he called it a reset. And after that reset, he was on a 68-point pace over an 82 game. If you extrapolate that over 82 game season, he was on a 68-point pace. So I think Shane Wright finally, at the end of that year, the last 40, 50 games of the season, finally found that game, finally got to where he wants to be and where he needs to be. And now I think moving forward, you asked where that ceiling is. I think Shane Wright, I mean, if he can get to 30 goals this season, if he can kiss 60 points, if he can get to 70 points, he almost had 50 this year. I don't think another 8 goals and another 12 points is really out of the realm of possibility for him moving into what will be his second full season in the NHL.
All right, Everett, we have plenty of stuff to talk about with the Kraken, but I don't play by the rules. So let's talk about the Falcons, the Bowling Green Falcons here.
Yes.
Decent year last year. According to my research, their last NCAA appearance was 2019, last title 1984.
Why you got to do them dirty
What
like
are we
that?
expecting from the Falcons this year, and are they going to be in the tournament?
Well, I mean, when you talk about Bowling Green, you're just talking about
holding the mug.
Everybody, listen, you've got the North Dakotas and the Michigans and who cares? Bowling Green, it's God's country for a reason. No, I think Dennis Williams is back at his alma mater. I think, Bowling Green had one of the top recruiting class, I think, in college hockey this season. The new NIL rules, the new college hockey recruiting rules, I think it plays well for BG because Dennis Williams has been doing that for Everett, the Silvertips, for so long. I mean, he was on the cusp of a Memorial Cup berth and a couple of WHL championships. So you bring a really good recruiter in, you bring a coach who knows how to recruit those Canadian guys. I think that Bowling Green is going to be a lot better than people realize. Now, we're not Michigan. We're not Boston College. We don't have the $1 million, $2, $3, $4 million budgets that all the other schools have. But what we do have is passion. What we do have is a lovely, wonderful fan base. We have the Madhouse on Mercer with that tin roof that's about 40 feet off the ground that just stuff pings off the roof. You've got great alums like, you can't mention Bowling Green without mentioning Rob Blake, Nelson Emerson, Doc Emmerich, Sean Shapiro, some of the greatest people that have ever graced the hockey world have come out of Wood County, a.k.a. God's country, and Bowling Green will be in the tournament this season. Sean and I would love to be there, Sean, with you, and we can celebrate and bask in our orange and brown goodness.
I'm just wondering, in this new world of NIL, why Bowling Green hasn't shot to the top of the recruiting charts because of some recently, well-off Seattle hockey broadcasters.
Well, listen, I work in the NHL. I don't play in the NHL. So I tell people that all the time, right? Seattle, if you've been up to Seattle, this is a wonderful area. I love living up here. My wife, we've got a 3-year-old. We love it here. It's the cost of living is a little bit more than it is down in Texas. And everyone's like, oh, you're in the NHL now. Why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? Because I work in the NHL. I don't play in the NHL.
All right. Well, I'm not trying to get you to completely bag on your organization or who writes your paychecks, but we do have to ask you about the Dallas Stars. And I know it might still be, especially knowing you, that the 23 second round probably still stings a little bit because that's the last playoff game you called, which was Game 7, which worked out pretty well for the Stars. But we've asked everybody that's been on the summer series, what is your outside perspective? Now, you're an insider in the NHL, but outside of Dallas, how do you see the Stars right now and going into next season? What stands out to you?
You know, Allison's really summed it up. I think it's Dallas's ability to stay relevant, to stay in the minimally top 4 of your division, but usually top 3. You're battling for division championships at the minimum every single year. You've done it without the top 5, top 10 draft pick. I mean, you look at Colorado, the Avalanche, they win the Stanley Cup. 5 years prior, they were 28th out of 31 in the NHL. Dallas has really never had that huge fall from grace and have had to build themselves up. You know, you're trying to get over the hump, and obviously with the coaching change this year, you bring back Gully. Jake Ottinger is in my opinion a top 5 definitely goalie in the NHL. So the pieces are there. But what I really love most about Dallas is the fact that you guys do it from within. And there's a handful of organizations. I look at Washington, I look at Pittsburgh, I look at Dallas, maybe throw a couple of others in there that use their AHL team, that use their ECHL team, that grow their talent from within. Yeah, you go out and you sign Mikko Rantanen, but for the most part, this team was built internally. The Dallas Stars have built that core from within. They go out, they get a Duchesne, they get some ancillary pieces from the outside. But I think if any team in the NHL has success, unless you're the, 2002 Red Wings team that basically were the New York Yankees and went out and bought everybody, unless you're just going out and buying up the farm, Dallas is one of those gold standard teams and how you want to build an organization, how you want to maintain success. I'll use the Red Wings as an example. Growing up in Detroit, the Red Wings made the playoffs, 27 straight years. They won 4 cups. They went to a 5th final. That's the kind of longevity you want. And if I'm the Kraken, I'm looking at Dallas. I'm looking at, like I said, Washington and Pittsburgh and those teams who are consistently there every single year. And the only thing left for Dallas to do is get over the hump, is get to the final. I like the way they're built. Like Alison said, defensively, if I had a question, that might be it. But I still have Dallas at the top of the division in the Central. I still have Dallas. If you don't win the division, you're going to be second. It's going to be you and Colorado. Everyone's really bullish on Utah this year, so I could see Utah sneaking in there as well. But that for me, Dallas is Tampa's another one. Thank you for that. I saw that in the chat. Tampa Bay is another team that they build.
Yes, Ardell brings that in and says that Tampa's right there in the Central Division. I know what he's talking about.
Right there in the Central. Those Tampa Bay Lightning, man.
We haven't been in the Tampa Division since the 56-game shortened season, and that did not go well for the Stars. I think they lost, 7 of 8?
Shut out in almost every game.
The right way, yeah.
They couldn't score on Vasilevskiy. It was a mess. Sean, we're almost out of time, but you get the honor of the last one for Everett today.
The closeout, the quick, and I'm sorry, Katya. I'm sorry.
I know she's going. No, go ahead. Do it.
The quick backstory is my favorite Everett story is actually one. I don't think you know this one, Everett. So you were at BG for one additional semester after me. And so you were calling games. I was working at a small town paper in Kerrville, Texas, by the way. If anyone can support the flooding stuff out there, go do that right now. And I remember putting the paper to bed, and my Friday night and Saturday night routine after putting the paper to bed was I would pop in Bowling Green games in the office in Kerrville, Texas, and listen to Everett. And I remember hearing "Saved by the Hamburglar" on the in the newsroom in small town Kerrville, Texas. So not really a question, but what if I told you? What if I told you we'd be here right now, Everett? So there we go.
He did his catchphrase again.
Both of us are working and covering in the NHL. Sean used to be the sports director for the BG News, and we hung out all the time. And I remember, I don't know if you remember this or not, but very early on in my career, we would always have conversations, and I didn't know what I couldn't say. So I started every hockey question to Sean, hey, off the record, but. Hey, real quick, off the record, but. And then finally he goes, dude, you don't have to say that all the time. I'm not gonna say anything. Like, you're fine. But there was a good, like, solid month and a half that every conversation started, off the record, but XYZ.
Everett, I've just looked at the schedule. I've been looking at it for a while, and we actually talked about this when the schedule dropped. Mason Marchment's return to Dallas is the next time we'll get to see you in person. November 9th. It's a Sunday where Dallas plays in Nashville on a Saturday afternoon and then plays you guys in Dallas on a Sunday at 6 Central Time. And then they're in Seattle on the back half of a back-to-back with Edmonton 2 weeks later.
Yep.
No sandbagging here at all. But unfortunately, we probably have a game to do. But it will be. I can't wait to see you again when it comes to early November.
Yeah. Last time we played Dallas, I was so angry. We played the Stars at 7 o'clock on a Sunday. Lions were destroying the Cowboys across town, and I couldn't get to the game. I was so heated, but that was my last time I was in Dallas. And Hutchinson got hurt that game, and it was all down.
But
hopefully my next trip to Dallas will treat me better than that.
You come back again. It's the first game for the Stars after the Olympic break is February 25th. It's a Wednesday. So maybe if we can't get you in studio on the Sunday in November because of the back-to-back, maybe the day before when you guys come. We'll talk about it, but Kat's going, we're out of time.
Yeah.
All right.
Everett, so great, man.
Thank you.
So, I mean, we get a little goofy because it's you. As usual, we're very professional usually, but no, in all seriousness,
always.
What a pleasure. You brightened our Friday. Thanks for coming on today, and hope the rest of your summer is really good.
Hey, guys, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Anything you need, let me know. We'll talk to you guys soon. Take care, guys.
He's the best. Everett Fitzhugh, who's the radio play-by-play voice of the Seattle Kraken. That does it for our week. Sean and Sam and I will be back next week. Sean will be, I think,
the weekend.
Wednesday is his next one. We have, we're still working on a couple of our guests next week, but we have the Anaheim Ducks coming up on Tuesday. We have two great guests there. We have a very exciting lineup for the Nashville Predators, our first Central Division team, and we'll also do Winnipeg next week. So it should be a lot of fun. For Sean, for the Pirate, Sam the Pirate, and for Katya, I'm Owen. Thanks for joining us. Have a great weekend. We'll see you Monday here on